Hello and welcome back to Inquisitor Martyr. Last time, we protected Omicron Arc from a bunch of chaos stuff while he tapped into the Martyr and came across what he described as a human spirit or mind melded with the machine spirit of the ship. And now we have to go back into the Martyr to follow the trail of Klosterheim to the secret laboratory.
I'm on my way. I also need an explanation as to why anyone would tamper with the machine spirit in such an irregular way. I want to know more about that. Keep me updated.
Now, an interesting thing about when Ark had encountered that essentially the spirit, machine spirit, is they first thought it was referred to as an abominable intelligence, which actually draws from a bit of the past where the Empire had AI, and which were the Men of Iron, but the problem was they were effectively sentient. They could think for their own, and from my understanding, this resulted in a war. They were, for the most part, wiped out, but not all of them were killed. And since then, all true AI are outlawed. How that works with a machine spirit, I don't fully understand. My best guess is a machine spirit is to some degree a soul bound to a vehicle, or a very rudimentary AI, which is something that is allowed as rudimentary AIs, but it can't be anything intelligent. But it does have bad implications if it's a soul, because then it could be something from the warp.
What is it? That's nonsense. Stop obsessing about my mental condition.
The thing is, if a machine spirit were somehow a soul bound to a machine, like I said, it raises questions because it could be related to the warp, or it could easily be influenced by the warp. And of course there's the question of whether things like living saints are actually to some degree demons, effectively. Because I can't remember what it was from, but I remember reading a bit that some of the living saints were affected by like a severed connection to the warp, and while chaos demons in the conflict lost their power, so too did all of the living saints. But that would give credibility to the idea that you don't have to necessarily be evil to have power in the warp, and that the warp is merely an environment that anyone can draw power from if they're strong enough.
Loading.
I mean, that's effectively how psychers are. You can have Space Marine psychers, but they're drawing power from the warp. It's all interesting. That's one of the great parts about 40K is how I don't think that when they wrote all this stuff they intended it to be as deep as it is, but it's turned out deep thanks to all the stuff that they've written. And it just makes it fun to kind of go back and forth and try to figure out some of the stuff. I mean, like I mentioned before, the stuff with Malice, you know, where does he fall in all this? Is he a chaos demon, which allows him to be summoned to the material plane and out of the warp, or is he somehow a chaos god who just happens to ignore the rules that the others have to adhere to? Might as well use my invisibility. I never actually bother with it. I can't get over how good the sniper rifle is.
Tiberius was creating demon hosts? Luther Tiberius condemned a whole army to eternal suffering. That is insane. Looks like I'm closing in on Klosterheim. He may have an agenda, but at least he is culling the filth. Pain is salvation.
It's really interesting how complex even just the Inquisition is. With like how there's so many subgroups or different offices, like just the Ordos. I believe I ran over them before. Ordo Hereticus, Ordo Malleus, Ordo Xenos. There's Ordo Chronos, which does something with time. It's one of those Ordos that's never really touched on. There's an Ordo Sepulchrum, I think, dealing with death, but it's only like 5 Inquisitors. Which, admittedly, it's nice that they don't just over-explain everything. This way, there's a lot to kind of build off in the future, but it's simultaneously incredibly annoying when you want answers to things, and they just... I shouldn't have ran into that. That was a bad move on my part. But they just shouldn't... Or they should just kind of explain some stuff, just to make it easier. I forgot. I completely spaced that the guy was a psyker, and they always explode. That is indeed a ripped apart dude. Yeah, since I last recorded, I've been watching a bunch more battle reports. It's just always interesting, especially when some of these people pull out, like, some of the titans that are... I don't understand the power ranking system fully, mostly because I'm used to, like, having a 500-point army instead of a narrative, 880 point army, which is a completely radical shift, because a 500
I'm in the research cloister
point
priest.
army is like a unit or two.
Oh, by the Emperor.
While
You must be the most
that much
specialist I've ever had in my resume.
is that much in terms of power is like a massive army.
Cleansing shots fired.
So I don't fully get that. I don't understand the shift towards it, but
Loading.
it probably expedites something.
I found the remains of the dead tech priest.
Yeah, that was a tech priest working with Klosterheim.
Sigma 7 Omega 3 5 Alpha.
I should return to my ship then, and make preparations before I enter that area.
Alright, let's see what the next bit is. Oh, now we just confront Klosterheim. Klosterheim has been steadily losing members of his retinue. I've just found the corpse of his tech priest at the gate that leads to Uther's secret laboratory. He paid the price for wasting my time. I'm following the trail of corpses into Uther's laboratory, a fitting place for my first and perhaps final meeting with Klosterheim.
Trust me, it will be secured soon.
One thing I was thinking about is this game is missing, and in general 40K is missing more variants of Ogrins, at least for Chaos, because we have Plague Ogrins, and that's all I know of at least, but I don't know if there's Khorne version where they have, you know, giant swords, bronze skin, and unyielding stabbiness to them. I don't know of a version that does a Tzeentch version, maybe replace an arm with a giant tentacle that spews flame. A bunch of unnecessary eyes all over. I mean, they could even make it... I mean, that's honestly probably the best option, is giant flamethrower hand and a bunch of eyes.
Subject has breached containment protocols. Area in lockdown.
Huh. But just something that feels kind of missing.
Pain is salvation.
I'd also like to see a bit more regarding mutants and abhumans, especially stuff for like Lost and the Damned, I'd like more. I guess for all intents and purposes, you could use Gores, like Ungors effectively, as just rank and file infantry. You don't need special rules for them.
Containment protocols. Area in lockdown.
But I was just thinking because you have Zangors, Korngors, Pestigors. I don't know what Slaaneash's Gores are. No, Slangors. Zangors, that's for Tzeentch. They just sound so close. But, I mean, you have those. But I just don't know if they have anything for them as general infantry. Because they did that with depending on how you pronounce it, Geller or Jeller. I'll just say Gellerpox Infect, where with the drawing a blank here. There was a Rogue Trader kill team set, and you could play as the crew or the crew that got infected and are now effectively, they're poxwalkers, they're plague zombies with a little more intelligence. Did they make plague or the poxwalkers replace plague zombies, now that I think about it? Because that kind of sucks, because they just don't look like zombies. They got like noodly tentacle arms like this stuff in the wall here. It works, but it just doesn't have the same feel as zombies. Or I'd like to see, because the Gellerpox Infected, they also count as Death Guard, if I remember correctly. I was looking on Wahapedia recently, and they just, I briefly was running over it, and I think it said that they count as Death Guard tag, so you can use them with Death Guard. But I'd like to see, even though Death Guard got a decent amount of love, it seems like this time around, I wish they'd get a little bit more. Because with like Plague Zombies, you could have a Rhino variant, or, yeah, probably a Rhino. Because Rhinos work as transports, and I think they can get a Dozer Blade on the front. But you could have, effectively, like, a Corpse Cart variant that allows you to like reinforce a unit of plague zombies, or you can do it with poxwalkers. I don't really care. I just think this would be cool. But you have that, and then it would just automatically replenish units. Yes, it is actually fairly powerful because you essentially have an infinite respawning tar pit. But I mean, like, to a degree, that's how they function anyways. And there's the ability, I think it's the Dead Rise Again, or something along those lines. It's one of the Death Guard stratagems where any infantry unit, you pick a group of poxwalkers, and any unit within 7 inches that's infantry who dies, well, any model within a unit, because a unit is a cluster of models, any model that dies, you add 1 poxwalker to your selected squad or unit, so you can just keep adding on. I actually don't know if it can exceed your normal squad limit, or unit model limit. I think it would, but I mean, it adds a new dimension to using them. Plus, all I see is people using, I think it's the plague crawlers. They're like armored mortar tanks. I just see tons of those getting thrown around, and nobody really messes with like Death Guard vehicles past that, or Chaos vehicles in general. They're just like, yep, that, some light drones, and we're good. I'm like, it works, but it gets really stale when it's that, and I can't remember the name of the gun.
Salvation.
A bunch of the... Because I was watching a bunch of Death Guard playthroughs, or not really playthroughs, but battle reports, and that's what they were using, was that, and it was like almost like a las gun entropy cannon, I think, but it doesn't allow a save.
You really didn't remember anything, did you?
Something is coming back, but it's unclear. I underwent a mind scrub, but...
So, that is what you did eventually. You sacrificed yourself. But not in the way that I'd expected.
Who are you? Who am I?
You used to be my mentor. You were an Inquisitor in pursuit of the greatest secret of the Caligari sector. The research of Uther Tiberius.
I guess I didn't find it. Otherwise we wouldn't be standing here.
You got close. And you got careless. You made questionable choices, and attracted the attention of first the Conclave, then the Grey Knights.
And there is no escaping from the secret protectors of the Imperium. Only death absolves, right?
So that was your plan. You sacrificed your former self.
And I have returned as someone else.
You told me to take on your mantle, and I obeyed. Through pain and fire, I hunted relentlessly for the Martyr. I did what you taught me. I fought, investigated, made pacts and broke them when I had to. And when the warp spat out Uther's floating fortress monastery, I was ready to find it.
And my path eventually led to the Martyr as well.
It cannot be a coincidence. Only the Emperor's will, because you found me now when I'm so very close to finding Uther's greatest secret.
We must talk about this. But first, we purge the area. I'm ready for the sacrifice it takes. And should my plan succeed, we might meet again.
But yeah, I was watching a bunch of Plague Guard, or Death Guard stuff.
To create an army of former demon hosts. He sacrificed countless lives, sentenced them to damnation, only to make a handful of survivors immune to chaos. I think I know why the Martyr had to leave the Segmentum Pacificus. It's insane.
A whole army of loyal warriors immune to the warp, ready to conquer the Immaterium? Once you would have embraced the idea.
I am not the same person anymore.
I pray to the Emperor that you are.
But it would just be good to see a bit more variety in Death Guard army comps. I did see a guy using a bunch of Imperial Knights and stuff, which was cool. I'm really eager to see how that pans out. Because I don't even know if there are official rules for... I don't know, there has to be, because there's Chaos Knights and stuff. I just don't see them very often because they're high point value. I don't even think the Night Lords have a codex this time. I feel like a lot of factions or like chaos groups really are missing critical things right now. I assume 8th edition made a demon, or has an update for demon factions, but that's the thing is I don't even know what's out for armies right now.
Target eliminated.
I feel like there was just so much focus put on Primaris Space Marines, which I don't know, I feel like Primaris kind of they just overshadowed Space Marines normally. Maybe it's just me. But I feel like they should have been more of a auxiliary to Space Marines instead of just like, yeah, buy a new set of models, replace your army. Because that's just kind of how it feels. It's like, replace your army, here's statistically better stuff. And I get lore-wise, Primaris Marines are better than standard Space Marines. They have better tech and everything. But it just kind of raises the question of, why would you play normal Space Marines then? Oh, I was watching a guy use, it was AdMech versus Death Guard. That was the one that had the Chaos Knights and everything. And it was just kind of funny watching him use the Doom Crawlers and just dumping everything he had into one target and either getting a ton of hits per attack or no hits, and everything just getting absorbed or missing. I found it just kind of amusing, because the guy had a lot, he could have wiped out a lot of the Death Guard army with just the volleys he was able to land, but nothing could stick. And kind of jumping back to me talking about the Gellerpox infected, or Geller. Once again, I don't know. I've heard it pronounced both ways, but I feel like they, even though yes, it was just a kill team expansion bit, I'd like to see more out of that.
Loading.
Like, you could have the rules, you could have your generic miniatures for it, and then you could do some limited run miniatures if you want a different look. I don't even know if the Plague Reaper is used anymore, because that was a infected Baneblade, in fact, essentially corrupted by Nurgle. But I don't even know if they did a 8th edition rule set for that. And then that kind of raises the question, would that be a Dark Mechanicus thing?
Are you ready?
Time to purge the unclean, Inquisitor. Side by side, like we used to.
This is another thing I wish... Like, I don't even know if there's miniatures of it, but I'd love to see stuff for the demon hosts. Because I think the demon hosts are cool, and there's only the demon hosts for Nurgle in this game. And we don't really get anything for... Like, there's stuff for Khorne. We don't get really anything for Tzeentch. We don't get anything for Slaanesh. And it just kind of sucks, because I want more... I want good representation of chaos. Let's get around, take out both the pustules first. These would be cool too, as an actual miniature to have. You could do, you know, Lost in the Damned variant rules, where it's effectively just Nurgle worshippers, and that comes with some set of bonuses, penalties, be what it may. I don't know how I'm going to... Well, I mean, he's already pretty beat up, thankfully, but... I am just kind of having to mag dump and back away rapidly. I guess the good part is I'm able to land a few hits and then move. Oh, cool. Everybody died from that.
No demonic presence detected. Lockdown deactivated.
Good work. Tell me, Klosterheim, did you miss all this?
I refuse to burden myself with redundant thoughts and emotions. But I admit, it was a satisfactory experience to fight that battle together. The research cloister is connected to Uther's inner sanctum. That is where Uther secreted away his most treasured research. Are you ready to enter?
I need to return to my retinue first and make the necessary preparations.
I'm not going to your ship. Trust me. Where would I go? I will meet you here when you return.
If you can do this.
Grab the loot here quick. And... well, I'd say this is a great stopping point. So, if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to hit the like button. It helps out the channel a lot. If you are new, please make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.